Hello, this is Keston from Audio Cookbook, and I'm excited to announce REV2 Degrader. This is a real-time morphing editor for the Sequential Prophet REV2 Polyphonic synth. I've been working on this for quite some time. Originally it was a Max for Live patch, and then I developed it into a standalone application. And it works in a few different ways. Number one, you can sort of randomly chip away without this interpolate button on. You can randomly chip away at parameters in a patch and see what happens over time and listen to that. And that can be done at any rate from 1 millisecond all the way up to 3 milliseconds or 3 seconds. Secondly, you can morph the parameters that you selected to new values over time. Instead of just randomly selecting a different value, you can morph to a new value. When it gets to that new value, it will find a new value, and this happens when you have interpolate on, and then loop to that or continue on to the next value, and do that at a rate that you specify, once again with the same range from 1 to 3,000 milliseconds. Thirdly, it'll do both of these things with customized groups of parameters. So as you can see, there are all sorts of toggles in front of 121, I believe it is, different parameters that I have selected from the Prophet REV2. So you can literally use this as an editor if you wanted to, and go in and make the changes yourself. Any number can be clicked on, and you can drag the number up and down to change values, or you could type in a new value, or you can use arrow keys to nudge values up and down. Let's try a couple things. I want to show you some examples of how to use this tool, what I find interesting about it anyway. One of the things I like to do is kind of limit my groups of parameters. I mean, you can select everything if you like, and there's a one button way to do that. But for me, I get the most interesting things when I use a smaller group of parameters. So I've got this Arpeggiator. I'm going to turn up the volume here. So this is just a patch that I created inside of REV2 Degrader. So this is all of the numbers that you see here are associated with this patch. And notice that I have only selected certain parameters within the ARP for modulation. That's all I have selected. So let's turn on the degrader and see what happens. So keep an eye on this bottom right-hand corner of the software. And then I could add the FX mix into this. Start to hear some delay trails coming in. Now my rate is quite slow, so I'm going to speed that up. We'll go all the way up to 20 milliseconds here. Perhaps I'll include the FX clock rate. This is something you can't modulate on the REV2. All right, so that was just morphing a few parameters, obviously the arpeggiator and some of the effects parameters. Now you'll notice that there are a number of presets built into REV2 Degrader. So these presets aren't technically Prophet REV2 presets, although they do send data to the Prophet REV2, and you can save that data as a patch within the REV2. You can also save it as a set of 12 patches, a bank of 12 patches, specifically to REV2 Degrader, and then along with all of the patch data, you get all of the different parameters that you want to degrade. So you'll see as I switch to preset number 2 here, that we have a whole lot more parameters selected now, and we have different values in all of the different parameter values in all the boxes and drop-down menus. So if I start playing the REV2 now, notice that almost everything is checked here. And this is going to be quite chaotic as soon as I hit the play button, but let's give it a listen. All right, that's enough of that. So you get an idea of what it sounds like when you're really changing a lot of parameters all at once. And go to a third preset, you can see we have, in this case, even more, but a different sound. So another interesting starting point. And the point of this is that you can create your own starting points for doing this. So you can have anything you want in here. Now, of course, these are what comes when you start using the software. What comes with it are a whole bank of 12 presets that I've developed that aren't necessarily what you would want. They're just interesting sound starting places that I've developed. So what you might want instead is some more initialized kinds of sounds to go with. So the package, the software package, comes with another preset called R2DG, just short for REV2 Degrader, initall.json. And so we can load this. I'll show you how to load that. We can just go into the file menu and choose Load Preset File. When I do that, it gives me a dialog box. I can choose that file name and press open. And now I have an entirely new bank. Now let's start at number 1 here, and I'll play the sound that it makes. So it's essentially the same as the init patch on the REV2, but that is programmed into bank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way up to 6. And so that's the first half of the init bank. The second half of the init bank, often I want to start with some kind of a pad sound and do some kind of slow morphing texture manipulation to that. So in this case, so this is just a basic pad sound, and that's what you're going to get in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But the point is that now I can go in and I can really surgically choose which kind of things I want to change. Maybe I'll do this at kind of a slow pace this time. Let's try 100 milliseconds. I'm just going to play in a chord. So I've got the chord. I'm just holding that chord for the time being. I am going to start enabling parameters over time. Now, if I push play now, notice it's gray. It's not doing anything. But as soon as I enable a parameter, that parameter will start moving, right? From the position that it was at, it is now changing on the REV2. Not a whole lot of audible change yet, but let's add in the shape mod for the other. And I can start adding other things. Maybe slop. It's the high pass filter. I'm going to switch it to the stereo delay. I'm going to change param 1, so that's being affected as well. And maybe I want to include some of the LFOs in here. Now, one of the things I find interesting to do is just to enable a whole section of parameters and then disable it really quickly. Now that it's on, I'm going to increase all the amounts. Now, the next thing I could start to do is speed things up. Ten milliseconds now, we're starting to see these numbers change a lot. Of course, the slop is on its way down. Maybe I'll take that out and bring that down manually. Add these frequencies into the mix for the LFOs. I'm just going to tap the all mod on for a second here. Now we got a lot of craziness. Same with the filter. Just adding the amounts now into my modulation matrix. And of course, if I add the frequencies, we'll get some pretty atonal things happening. So there you have a little bit of what REV2 Degrader can do. There are a lot more possibilities with this tool. Just because of all of the different combinations you can choose when it comes to which parameters are being degraded while which ones are being left alone. And also all of the different starting points that you can program into the software and then save as presets and load up whenever you like. So, I'm John Keston. More details are available at audiocookbook.org. Thank you for watching.